Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. So this is going to be another portfolio video and let's get into it. So the first thing you'll see is a large mistake here called BMNR. Okay, it's 83% of my portfolio and it's just a way too big mistake that I will never live this down. I will never live down being 100% in BMNR. But what I can do is at least try to diversify. And I'm still not selling BMNR. I think there's still a thesis to BMNR, but I was really wrong on the time frame. This is likely more like a 5-year play rather than a 6 months or a year play. Okay, it just ended up that way. Um, so I have been adding to BMNR. I used to have like 1,700 shares and I've added 102 shares right now, just slowly adding like 5 to 10 at a time. And if you look at the BMNR spreadsheet that I have, now the shares outstanding, I'm still unsure of how many shares they have. I guess we'll get an earnings pretty soon. Okay, look at this cool feature that I built here. Where is it? It's good when I can't even find it. Okay. So if you go to July, they are going to have their earnings on the 3rd of July. Okay. So we'll see what Tom Lee says. And I think we'll get a confirmation on how many shares outstanding they have. But if you actually look at their MNAV right now, they're actually undervalued. Okay, they are below 1 MNAV, and theoretically, based on their ETH held, they should be around 1650 to about 1750. So they are way below MNAV right now. I wouldn't say that's unfortunate. I would actually say that's an opportunity. So there are a lot of people in the BMNR space calling them to actually buy back their stock. But I think the reason that they're not doing that is because if they bought back their stock, then who else will buy the stock, right? I think what they're trying to do is to allow the market forces to price them at a 1 MNAV rather than them trying to buy BMNR. Now, obviously, if BMNR goes below, like, I think 0.5, right? Or if it hits 0.5, BMNR would definitely buy back their own stock. But for now, they're trading, I would say, around a 0.8 to 0.9 MNAV. That gives the market an opportunity, like a 10% alpha, if they just bought it. Obviously, they would have to, buy into Ethereum as a thesis. So we'll see how they do. I think right now they are definitely undervalued. I'm not even counting their other investments here. If you look at what they have on their balance sheet, they have, they still have Bitcoin, which obviously is not doing very well, but they still have Bitcoin, they have Beast Industries, they have 8Co, and they do have other cryptos, and they have cash. Okay, I did not count a lot of these. It seems like they should have about 10.4 billion in MNAV, and they are currently only 9.8. Okay, so they are pretty undervalued right now, I would say, and I'm still holding and I'm still adding, but I am slowing way the hell down on adding BMNR because I don't know how long this is going to take. The current consolidation pattern right now is at 352 days. We have 1 year of doing nothing. This is one of the harshest realities that I have to sort myself with over the last year, is that I'm prone to being like a retard and buying some bullshit stock called BMNR. Now that's obviously a joke. Okay, I just explained my bull thesis. But yeah, just know that don't make the same mistake I did, right? Next up, we have Meta in my portfolio. So I'm gonna go down. I'm not gonna go through the individual theses because it's gonna take too long, and I haven't prepared that anyways. So I'm just gonna go through sort of the technicals and roughly what I think, right? So Meta, they are still an AI play, and The main reason I bought it is because they are opening the possibility of adding subscriptions to a lot of their products. Like I would like to see them add subscriptions to WhatsApp. Now that would really suck for me because WhatsApp is like an integral part of my life, right? But if they would simply just add let's say like $1 subscription to WhatsApp, you know, that could be like $1 billion or even more than that, right? I would say that could be at a safe estimate $2 to $3 billion if they added like $1 subscription to WhatsApp. And then you have sort of Instagram and Facebook as well. Now, I don't think they should add subscriptions to those, but if they did, right, like a premium tier, that would also add a lot of money, a lot of revenues back to them. And they are also, they have an AI play. They have a possibility of being a hyperscaler, even though I don't like that thesis specifically. If you look at their price to earnings right now, it's like 20. It's like 21. Okay. Price to earnings obviously is not, I don't want to have this debate. Okay. Price to earnings is 21. Okay. Next up, we have gold. So I thought by buying gold at around 84, I was getting a discount. But it seems like it still has the ability to trade down really aggressively. I didn't know that gold was able to do this, but thank God I didn't buy it at 100. At this point, I must have assumed like gold was a really speculative play. And if you remember, there were lines to gold shops to buy gold, and that really signaled the peak of gold. And I was talking to someone, and I was like, these gold guys, they're charging you bullshit commissions on all the designs of gold, and people are still buying it, which is what I found crazy. But I bought BMNR. I can't throw stones in a glass house. So gold went down about 25%, and I really don't think it will go down any further than this. I would be surprised. So I'm sort of buying it as a hedge, but I don't know how well they'll work out because gold still seems to be trading like a speculative asset anyways. So it's 10% of my portfolio. I think that's sort of enough gold right now. This my portfolio without BMNR, by the way. And then next up we have Northrop Grumman. Now I know the Israel-Iran war is coming to an end, even though it doesn't seem like it. But the stock price is down like 30%. And if you look at the SMA, I don't know what happened to my SMA. Okay, I don't know what happened, but it's just popped back out. Okay, let's move on. You can see that the SMA currently 200-day SMA, by the way, is at 616, and the 1 day doesn't look good, but I'm trading the 1 week. Okay, I'm trading the 1 week chart on Northrop Grumman, and I think the US is still gonna need defense after all the shit that they pulled. They're likely gonna export a lot of their defense as well, based on what's happening around the world right now. Very, very, unfortunate thing to talk about. But I think Northrop Grumman at this, price P ratio of 17. Once again, not gonna have that debate every video. P ratio of 17. I'm looking at the charts right now. I think it's looking pretty good. 100 under 200-day SMA. I know things like Enduril is like coming soon, but I think based on scale, I would still buy Northrop Grumman before I buy Enduril. Okay. Next up, we have cash. Now I'm not gonna talk about cash. It's just it's just cash. Okay. Next up, we have NVDA. So, with all the hyperscaler talk going on, what's just gonna end up happening is that money is gonna flow back into NVIDIA, and the weekly chart seems to suggest that it'll still go down and consolidate a little bit longer. So I think around 200 or slightly below 200, 180 to 200 is where I would sort of continue to add here. Now, in terms of whether NVIDIA is overbought, I really actually don't think so, because it's sort of trading with the 200-day SMA based on the technicals. And also, if you look at something like a Micron, Micron is up 266% year to date. Okay, so if you're sort of comparing this with NVIDIA, and if you're asking NVIDIA if it's moving like a bubble, I don't think so. I think eventually, with all the hyperscaler talk, with every company buying compute just specifically, money is just gonna flow into Nvidia, okay? And with Anthropic, OpenAI IPOing, SpaceX has already IPO'd. They're gonna get a lot of funds, and they're just gonna pour it back into Nvidia, or just pay whatever that they have promised to Nvidia. Now, NVIDIA has a problem with production, and hopefully China doesn't invade Taiwan and disrupt TSMC. If they do, then I guess the stock market doesn't really matter at that point, because we're going to be struggling with a lot more. All right, next up, we have Intuitive Surgical. So Intuitive Surgical, I mainly just bought it based on their revenue growth, and they are sort of the leader in the healthcare space. Their P is a little bit high. It's like a 50 right now, but they have peers like Medtronic. Okay, let's see here. Medtronic is a lower PE ratio, but if you were to look at their earnings, okay, if you were to look at their earnings, you can see that ISRG has a sort of higher growth rate. Now, Medtronic has more net income, but I'm just playing ISRG as a higher growth rate here. So yeah, so you can play either one, I guess. Now, you shouldn't trade off me. I've already explained my BMNR position. So it's just a diversification play. Okay, this is just my entire portfolio right now. I'm just sharing what I'm seeing. Next up, we have Palantir. Let's go to Palantir here. So Palantir is kind of obvious, I think, for a lot of retail investors why I'm in it. But if you were to look at the technicals here, my average price is 133. So you can sort of see what I'm going with here with this support at 133. I don't think it has to be said, but their earnings are pretty good. Okay, Palantir is growing at a pretty astounding rate, and it's also riding the AI wave. Okay, it's I've been playing with a lot of the models. Okay, I built this app with a model, this budget terminal app. Okay, and there are some limitations as to what I can do with a LLM model, and Palantir has the ontology to figure out how to use AI models better than a normal human can. Okay, there have been a lot of open source projects trying to replicate Palantir, or do something like what they're doing, like there's this app called Paperclip, which is absolutely useless, and there's this app called the Kanban Illustrator with Hermes Agent, which I can't figure out how to use. Okay, the AI models need Palantir, and their earnings just simply show why. Okay, no other really explanation needed as to why I'm buying Palantir. The growth rate here is just insane, and I will be slowly adding it to Palantir. It's a very compelling opportunity here. Next up, we have Microsoft. Man, this is going to take a long time. Microsoft, I sold it at around 450 on my IBKR position, and I simply can't not buy this dip. Okay, I didn't get the bottom. My Microsoft position is, I bought it at 400 because I thought that was a good opportunity. But once again, the market is so volatile right now. You really just want to nibble over time rather than just adding a lump sum here. That's why I after I sold my IBKR's portfolio, I didn't go all in on a lot of these stocks. So Microsoft is just basically like a staple. I can talk a little bit about Linux, but what I sort of found out with experimenting with Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, I have a lot of these devices. Um, I've wasted a lot of money. I'm gonna be honest, but just experimenting on a lot of these other operating systems. I think Microsoft is just simply like the catch-all. I don't see Microsoft's market share being below like 80 or 70%. Linux is going to do a lot of damage to Microsoft in terms of the market share of operating system, but it's not going to kill Microsoft. It's just simply not. And I think they're going to have to do a lot of work in terms of the software to improve it. But Microsoft just never. I don't think it's not going to die within the next 5 years. There's no way. Okay, next up, McDonald's. McDonald's. So it's just a food and beverage play. We're gonna have a lot of persistent inflation in the future, and food scarcity is actually going to be like one of the things that we might actually face. Um, so I think McDonald's is gonna end up having some sort of pricing power in the near future based on that food scarcity, and they are just simply just a staple. Okay. Next up, we have CEG. So CEG is a energy play. Now they are actually pretty diversified. They have nuclear, they have gas, and they have oil as well. P is currently 23. So they are not the least valued, or they're not the most um, undervalued, if that makes sense. I'm trying to load up their peers here. Yeah, there you go. I'm trying to load up their peers here. So I built this thing in my app here. You can see what I'm basically buying here is the revenue growth of Constellation Energy, right? You can see compared to their peers, um, their revenue growth is pretty astounding. 60% revenue growth, and their net margins is base pretty standard, a little lower than the others. P ratio is a little bit higher. Forward P is also a little bit higher, and free cash flow is slightly in between. EV to EBITDA, yeah, just in between as well. So you're basically, if you're buying CEG, you're just buying the revenue growth. Okay. What's next? I close my app here. Next up, we have Amazon. I don't think I need to explain this. Amazon hyperscaler. I am a little bit concerned about their e-commerce, but it seems like I'm still buying stuff and people are still buying stuff. I'm not really convinced about their Trinium chip, but it seems like AWS is doing very well regardless. So maybe I'm not the most updated on their Trinium. From what I can hear, people just really hate AWS Trinium. Researchers and AI makers, but AWS is not really necessarily getting hit too hard. I don't think. I'm trying to find their revenue sources here. Now this is going to be a little bit old. Okay, so this is only 2025 numbers. So their online stores are still doing okay. The growth rate is a little bit low. They have their advertising and their subscriptions here. I think that's doing okay. Okay, so Amazon, just a Mag 7, just pretty simple thesis here. Okay, next up we have Lowe's. So this is once again just a consumer staple, right? And I don't really have a great explanation here, but if you compare the technicals within Lowe's and Home Depot, I guess they're pretty much the same. If you compare them to Walmart, Walmart is above their 200-day SMA, whereas lows is below. So that's why I sort of picked lows, because I thought, the technicals are a little bit better. If you compare them in terms of the fundamental valuations, let me pull out the peers again. I'm gonna have to give it time to load. So this is sort of what I was looking at. Their revenue growth is just slightly higher than the rest. Their net margins are lower, so I guess that didn't really matter. P ratios comparatively. Okay. One thing about this, it's not. It's it's deterministic. It doesn't use the right P ratio, so I'm just gonna have to add it. Okay, it's doing well enough to prove my point here. I was looking at, I guess, the P ratio of lows, and you can look at the 4P as well. It's sort of a value play. It's a value play. I don't know how else to say it. Next up, we have Raytheon. It's at a 3% position here, so I'm gonna make it quick. Raytheon. What I'm basically looking at here is that I think Raytheon's products are a little bit more consumable. So basically, they're just gonna have to, buy more Raytheon stuff because they're gonna consume it, right? Next up, okay, so yeah, technicals also just broke out the 200-day SMA. Pretty good. I wish I had more. Next up, we have TMUS. Don't really have a written thesis on it, but it's being sold off because of the SpaceX thing. I really don't think SpaceX is going to disrupt all the mobile phone carriers. Mobile phone carriers have a way of being very, very sticky. That's why they survived for so long. And I don't think SpaceX is gonna beat that. Next up, we have SOFI. SOFI has been breaking out recently. Anthony Noto bought a lot of positions here. And if you look at the TA, trending on a 1 week chart, it's at a consolidation pattern here, and I am waiting for it to break above that 200-day SMA. Now this is going to be very dependent on what the Fed does with the interest rates. Right now, the interest rates are going to stay stable, so I think SoFi is likely going to consolidate until the Fed cuts rates. Now, obviously, if you look at the fundamentals of SoFi, it's doing very well, but everyone is just simply very, very afraid of them suffering because of the interest rates. Next up, we have EQT. So EQT is actually kind of like a weird play because they actually moved into sort of from a gas production company to I think they're more of like an investing company right now. I don't know the full details of it, but they do invest in the energy space. If I'm getting that correctly, or the AI might have just given me like a wrong play. I don't know. So EQT, just an energy play, and then we have OTIS. OTIS does like escalators, so you can see sort of the trend here. I'm diversifying into a lot of the different staples, right? OTIS is a escalator and an elevator company. And I'm not sure if you guys like step on a lot of different escalators. OTIS escalators are pretty solid. Okay, we have this new brand called Cone escalators, and they literally just break down all the time. So just a little bit of Peter Lynch there thrown in there. AT&T, once again, a carrier business, same as what we have with TMUS. And the last stock we have here is Devon Energy. Okay, so Devon, basically an energy play. Nothing much I can say about it. It's just more diversification into staples. Okay, so that is it for my portfolio. I want to give some thoughts on SpaceX as well. So I'm not going to be touching SpaceX. I think you can definitely do some good trades on SpaceX, but I'm personally not going to be touching it. What I think is going to happen with SpaceX is that it's still going to go up, and it's going to go up until the lockout expires. And in between that time, everyone invested in SpaceX is going to be hyper bullish on it. They're going to give hyper bullish comments like Brad Gusner. It's all just going to be fucking bullshit. Okay. I'm not fucking touching this. I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked. But we'll see. I've been wrong. Okay. I'm just not going to FOMO into this, but I can still go up. I wouldn't be surprised if this hits 300. There is a very, very good X post that I sort of agree with as to what's going to be happening here. There's going to be a pretty good, pump up here. That's why I think it might even hit 300 or even like 400 at this point. I don't know. It might be the number one company before there's a huge dump, because there's no way that investors that got into SpaceX at $4 is gonna hold it at 300 with like a price to sales of, at that point it would be like 200 price to sales. There's no way. There's no. I'm not gonna believe it. I might sound crazy here. I'm not gonna believe it. So I think they're gonna dump. And then it's gonna be dead money at 12 to 16 months. Maybe I'll give it like 12 months. I'll be a little bit more positive on this. And we'll see what the fundamentals are. Maybe it's going to be a good time to accumulate. Maybe it's not going to be a good time to accumulate. And then you could have like another move up here if the space thesis plays out. But I think at this point, when the economy is blown to hell and people are struggling to afford like Chipotle, okay, SpaceX is not going to fucking work out. Okay, so there you go. There you go. I'm not touching SpaceX. This thing is just going to be a bullshit stock. Okay. And I think this is going to be the same thing that's going to happen with OpenAI and Anthropic IPO. And all the money that they're going to get into this is going to be moved into NVIDIA. And that's why you should. I'm buying sort of NVIDIA. Okay, I think it's just going to catch everything. All right, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks guys for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.